Hey, what is up, everybody, and welcome back to another one of my film episodes where I go through a roll film I shot and kind of describe what happened in the situation and how it came out and what it looks like, and then critique my own images. As I mentioned, I wanted to get back into black and white because with our stay-at-home order, I can't go out to the color lab anyways. So that's exactly what I did. Yesterday, looked outside and there was this really cool dramatic sky, deep blue sky with big white clouds. All over. So I kind of, so I decided I would load up the Minolta X-700. It's an early 80s SLR. I put a red filter on the two lenses that I had with me, and I rode my bike downtown Akron. I was thinking it'd be kind of cool because Akron would be empty with the stay-at-home order, and it was a Sunday on top of that. So headed down there. It was crazy windy, probably the windiest I've ever ridden my bike in, and maybe the windiest I've ever just been out in general around here. I mean, you could barely even push the bike at some point. It felt like you were riding uphill. And then some other times I would turn around and it'd be like I was a sail. So it was pretty crazy, and probably part of what led, the clouds were moving fast, and it was just very interesting, dramatic sky. In a lot of the spots when I'd be taking the shot, I'd be standing there waiting for the clouds to move out from, or the sun to move from behind the clouds, whatever, so I could get the right light on the buildings and then the right dramatic lighting in the background. But before I left, I went down to my fridge to get my film fridge to get the box of film I wanted, and I was hoping for Kodak Tri-X, and I didn't realize I am totally out. So I had a few black and white films in there, but none that I really had a ton of experience with. So I ended up grabbing this Holga 400, and I can't remember when I got that. I think, when I used to order stuff from B&H or anytime I go up to Dot in Cleveland, I'll just, if I'm spending a few $100s or sometimes a few $1,000s, I'll just throw a few rolls on as kind of like a nice thing. So it must be, something I was like, oh, I've never seen this before. I'll try it sometime. After some research, I realized it's actually just Foma 400, which I have shot before. So did a little research what the film was like and if I needed to do anything special with it. I developed the images last night. When I looked at the negatives today, at first on the light table, I thought they looked really good. And then I started scanning them and I realized the highlights were fairly blown and the negatives were extremely contrasty. I guess the correct term would almost be that they were fairly blocky or blocked up. So once I started looking at the scans, a lot of the highlights were blown, and basically what I had to do was bring them down in Photoshop and even do some, dodging and burning on the images to bring them out a little better. I didn't go crazy on here, but you'll see that it was definitely something that needed to be done. Anyways, let's jump into the roll. This first image we have is of the BF Goodrich smokestacks. And here you could already see how cool the sky looks. But yeah, there is some loss of shadow detail in the blacks, which doesn't bother me that much. But you could see like on the one building, all the way to the right, how bright that is. And I mean, it was getting hit with bright, sunlight, but still, I just know if that was Tri-X, this image would have rendered a little better. This is still one of my favorites with the leading lines and all that, though. This is another part of the BF Goodrich complex, or it used to be. One of their factories. And again, look how that sky is just so awesome. This is one of the ones that came out more to my liking. The pavement in the foreground is a little bright, but I burned that a little bit and it looked a little better, but I love the sky. I stood in this spot for a while to get this shot. Just was waiting for the light to hit just right. But yeah, pretty cool building. Great sky. This is downtown. They're redoing Main Street in downtown Akron. It's been an ongoing process. So it was another thing going down to see the construction, and that's keeping people out of downtown too. So on top of Corona, the construction, and it being a Sunday, it really was quite empty down there. This one, again, look at that dramatic sky. Again, did a lot of trying to bring the highlights down in the foreground and on some of those buildings down Main Street. But this probably would have benefited from a little vignette too. But I really like the image of the construction equipment downtown. It's a kind of slightly wider angle on that, which is also brings me to, I used a lens I had never used before. I had a friend give me a box of camera stuff, and some of it was cool for the shelf. Some of it didn't really have a use, but there was a Minolta 28 millimeter lens in there, which is something that I had actually wanted. It's a 2.8. It was kind of cool to get that. The focus on that lens was really smooth, and I really liked it. The White Law building and the entrance to the Civic Theater, also all blocked up from the construction. Kind of like this shot too. Yeah, it'd be a little better again if the midtones were a little darker. But yeah, and then it also felt so good to have the Minolta back in my hands. Using the Canon net for the last few weeks. Like I said, did have fun with the camera. It's a cool camera to use and bring on my bike, and simple, and shoot with color film. But I'm an SLR guy. Having that back in my hands, I realized how much more I like that split prism focusing, and being at the interchangeable lenses. I brought my real vintage 55 1.7. I think that was a kit lens with the Minolta SRT 101. But I just love the look of that lens, even though I shot almost all of these with the wide angle lens, just because I wanted to try something new. Again, this one I'm just a little blown, and I know from my experience that I don't think it was my exposure in these images. Here's a shot of downtown from Cascade Plaza. I was almost getting blown over by the wind here. It was so insane. It was just howling through here. But again, these clouds are so awesome. I just really, really like it. And here's a vertical version. And with the overhang and the old hotel, I kind of like the vertical one a little better. Yeah, and this is looking down this little walkway here, and there's some art in the back. And again, I really like the walkway, and I like the building on the one side. I just wish the sky, I need to maybe even just darken that a little more if I can pull some detail out. Here we're looking at the First Merit Tower. It's an Art Deco tower in Akron. Just a close-up, kind of close shot, and then I looked straight up at it in this shot, which I thought was kind of cool with those lines. It almost reminds me of shooting like the Empire State Building in New York or something like that. It almost from this perspective doesn't feel like Akron. There's another one just looking down Main Street. Shot's not that great. Again, a little too much highlights. And to go with that too, I looked at the massive development chart, which is what I've always used to determine my development times. And that said 7 minutes for the Holga or Foma 400. And then I looked at the box after seeing the film, and the box said to develop it for 6.5. So I'm wondering if I do have a little bit of overdevelopment going on here too. I went back and I looked at I have shot Foma 400 a couple times, and I went back and looked at those images, and same thing, a lot of the highlights are kind of blown. And I know the film is supposed to have a strong anti-halation layer, and there can be some haloing and stuff like that, which I do notice in these images and was in the other images. And so I wonder if it's a combination of the film and being slightly overdeveloped. Yeah, just a couple photos here of, this is called the Bowery Project. They're redeveloping all these buildings. Some of them are going to be apartments and then stores on the first floor. Anyways, I love the stack of these buildings here. This shot of the Akron Art Museum, again, this is the kind of contrast I was going for, but I just know it would look better with Tri-X or, even, HP5 or something like that. But with the wide angle, it looks cool. And then the last shot here, looking down at Market and some of the old buildings there, and just that awesome sky. I just really, really like that. Oh yeah, and then the other thing is I almost always buy my film in, 36 exposure rolls, because why not? And I didn't pay attention when I put this one in, and it was a 24. And after I took this shot and went to advance the film, I almost ripped it off the roll. I mean, I was lucky, like the resistance hit and I stopped, but I was doing it, with the quick draw like I normally would. So I'm really lucky I didn't rip it and have to put the whole camera in the changing bag and go through that whole process. But yeah, so roll black and white. I'm still pretty happy with some of these images. Anyway, so back into the black and white, and there'll be more of this coming along, but probably with the film stocks and the development I'm used to. All right, I will see you in the next video, which will be tomorrow. Cheers.